November 18, 2025, the White House. President Trump announces the United States will sell F-35 stealth fighters to Saudi Arabia. Up to 48 aircraft, 2 full squadrons of the most advanced combat aircraft on the planet. This breaks Israel's 10-year monopoly on fifth-generation fighters in the Middle East. The question everyone is asking, does this end Israel's air dominance? The answer is more complicated than you think. You'll understand the technical reality behind Israel's F-35I modifications that create an unbridgeable capability gap, the geopolitical stakes of a regional F-35 arms race, and why this sale might be the biggest strategic miscalculation since the Abraham Accords. This is about engineering advantages, not politics. Let's decode what Israel really loses. The announcement came during Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman's White House visit. Trump was clear: Saudi Arabia gets F-35s. The media called it a joint defense agreement. Analysts called it a seismic shift in Middle Eastern power dynamics. Israel called an emergency defense meeting within hours. Here's what the press releases don't tell you. This isn't just about 48 aircraft. This is about precedent. Qatar renewed its F-35 request 2 weeks later. Turkey is pushing for 40 jets after years of being locked out. The UAE is reviving talks for 50 aircraft that stalled in 2021. The Middle East is about to become saturated with stealth fighters, and Israel's 10-year head start might not be enough. But before we talk about what changes, you need to understand what Israel has been flying since 2016. The F-35I Adir. In Hebrew, Adir means mighty one. This is not the standard F-35A that rolls off Lockheed Martin's production line. Israel is the only nation on Earth authorized to crack open the F-35's internal systems and install their own technology. When you hear that Israel operates F-35s, what you're really hearing is that Israel operates a fundamentally different aircraft that happens to look like an F-35 from the outside. Here's where the engineering gets interesting. Every F-35 operator receives the aircraft with a BAE Systems electronic warfare suite, standard issue. Israel ripped it out. They replaced it with indigenous technology from Elbit Systems. Why does this matter? Because Israel's version is purpose-built to defeat Russian S-400 radar systems and Iranian air defense networks. The Elbit suite integrates seamlessly with Israeli intelligence networks, creating a plug-and-play architecture that doesn't compromise the aircraft's stealth profile. When Iranian S-300 batteries swept the sky during Israel's June 2025 strikes deep inside Iran, those radars saw nothing. Israeli F-35s penetrated over 1,100 miles into hostile airspace, destroyed every high-end surface-to-air system they targeted, and returned without a single loss. But electronic warfare is just the first layer. Israel developed a complete command and control overlay in partnership with Lockheed Martin and Israel Aerospace Industries. This isn't software you download. This is a nervous system that connects the F-35I to Israel's multi-layered defense architecture. Iron Dome, David's Sling, Arrow interceptors, ground-based radars, satellite feeds. The F-35I doesn't just fly missions. It functions as a central sensor node, feeding targeting data to systems 200 miles away. When Hezbollah fired rockets from Lebanon in 2024, F-35s tracked the launches, calculated trajectories, and handed off intercept solutions to Iron Dome batteries before the rockets crossed into Israeli airspace. The F-35I sees everything, and everything sees through the F-35I. Now combine that with weapons integration. Most F-35 operators need U.S. approval for every new missile or bomb they want to carry. The process takes years. Israel has software access. They integrate their own munitions independently. Rafael's Python 5 air-to-air missiles with dual waveband infrared seekers. Spice 1000 precision-guided munitions with 100-kilometer standoff range and scene-matching terminal guidance. 1-ton penetration bombs designed specifically to crack Iranian underground bunkers. Israel doesn't ask permission. They engineer solutions and install them. Here's the capability that changes everything. Conformal fuel tanks. Israel secured approval to mount external fuel pods that extend the F-35I's unrefueled combat radius beyond 1,700 kilometers. That's over 1,000 miles. This is why Israeli F-35s flew deep into Iran in June 2025 without aerial refueling. They didn't need tankers. They didn't need to loiter in contested airspace waiting for a fuel hookup. They launched from Israel, penetrated Iranian air defenses, struck their targets, and returned home on internal fuel alone. No other F-35 operator has this range advantage. Watch what happens when you combine all three modifications. Electronic warfare defeats detection. Command and control integrates the kill chain. Extended range eliminates the need for vulnerable support aircraft. The result is an aircraft that operates independently in the most contested airspace on the planet. Israel has flown over 15,000 operational F-35 hours since 2018, more combat time than any other F-35 operator. They've validated these systems in thousands of strikes across Gaza, Lebanon, Syria, Yemen, and Iran. During the 12-day campaign against Iran in June 2025, Israeli F-35 has maintained a 90% mission-capable rate. Pentagon officials call Israeli F-35I operations critical lessons for U.S. Pacific strategy. The modifications work. Combat proves it. But here's where the geopolitical reality gets complicated. What is Saudi Arabia actually getting? The White House clarified after the initial announcement. Saudi F-35s will not include cutting-edge weapon systems beyond standard loadouts. They will not receive advanced electronic warfare technology comparable to Israeli systems. They will not get the AIM-260 Joint Advanced Tactical Missile, the next-generation air-to-air weapon with ranges exceeding 120 miles. They will not have Israeli-designed sensors, indigenous command and control overlays, or software access for independent modifications. U.S. officials made this clear. Saudi Arabia receives a downgraded configuration to preserve Israel's qualitative military edge. Here's the numbers reality. Saudi Arabia gets 48 aircraft maximum. Israel already operates 46 F-35s across 3 squadrons, with expansion plans to 75 by 2030. Israel signed a $3 billion agreement in June 2024 for 25 additional aircraft. Deliveries start in 2028 in batches of 3 to 5 jets annually. By the time Saudi Arabia receives operational aircraft, Israel will have a 56% larger F-35 fleet operated by pilots with a decade more experience and integrated into battle-tested doctrine. The quantitative gap compounds the qualitative advantage. But wait, if Israel maintains overwhelming technical and numerical superiority, why did the Israeli Air Force submit a formal warning to political leaders that this sale could compromise air superiority? Because the threat isn't Saudi Arabia. The threat is precedent. Qatar renewed its F-35 request in December 2025. Turkey is lobbying for at least 40 aircraft after reportedly asking Russia to take back the S-400 systems that got them kicked out of the F-35 program in 2019. The UAE already signed letters of agreement for 50 F-35s following the Abraham Accords before negotiations stalled. Now they're back at the table. Morocco is interested in 32 jets. If all these deals go through, the Middle East could host over 400 F-35s operated by 7 nations within a decade. Even if each sale includes capability restrictions, the cumulative effect erodes Israel's margin of dominance. You go from being the only stealth operator in the region to being one of many. That's a strategic earthquake. Here's the part that really concerns Israeli analysts: the sequencing. During the Biden administration, F-35 sales to Saudi Arabia were explicitly tied to normalizing diplomatic relations with Israel. The logic was simple: give Saudi Arabia advanced military capabilities only after they join the Abraham Accords. Use the sale as leverage to advance Middle East peace. Trump reversed this. He approved the F-35 sale before normalization. Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman made his position clear. Saudi Arabia will not normalize until two conditions are met. Complete end to the Gaza war, including Phase 2 of the ceasefire. A clear path to Palestinian statehood. By giving Saudi Arabia the F-35 without securing normalization first, the United States eliminated Israel's most valuable diplomatic leverage. Now here's the paradox nobody talks about. While public discourse focuses on potential threats from Saudi F-35 acquisition, behind the scenes, extensive security cooperation between Israel and Saudi Arabia continues. Since 2022, senior military officials from Israel and 6 Arab countries, including Saudi Arabia, have participated in classified planning meetings in Bahrain, Egypt, Jordan, and Qatar. The centerpiece is an integrated air defense network to combat Iranian missiles and drones. By 2024, Central Command successfully linked partner states, allowing them to share radar and sensor data. Saudi Arabia actively contributes intelligence on threats from Iran-backed Houthi militants and Islamic State operations. In May 2024, Israeli and Arab military officials, including Saudis, met at Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar. The Israeli delegation flew directly to avoid public exposure. During Iran's massive April 2024 attack on Israel, multiple Arab countries with no public ties to Jerusalem came to Israel's defense. They passed intelligence. They allowed Israel to use their airspace. They actively helped track and intercept Iranian projectiles. While officials haven't confirmed which specific countries participated, the integrated air defense networks make clear that Saudi capabilities directly contribute to Israel's strategic defense. The driving force is the mutual threat from Iran. Houthi attacks targeting Israel also threaten Saudi national security. Iranian-backed militias in Iraq and Syria pose direct threats to both nations. Israeli military successes that degrade Iranian capabilities make the region safer for Saudi Arabia. This creates an interesting dynamic. When Iran posed an acute threat, Israeli intelligence sharing was invaluable. With that threat temporarily contained, domestic political costs of normalization loom larger than strategic benefits. So does Israel's qualitative military edge survive? The technical answer is yes. The F-35I modifications create an unbridgeable capability gap that Saudi Arabia cannot replicate. Israel has an 8 to 10-year operational head start with combat-proven tactics that cannot be acquired through aircraft purchase alone. By the time Saudi F-35s become operational in the late 2020s or early 2030s, Israel will have integrated Block 4 upgrades and potentially begun acquiring 6th-generation fighters. Boeing's next-generation platform is projected for initial flights in 2028 with service entry in the 2030s. Israel will likely develop a customized variant with indigenous systems, maintaining the technological superiority cycle that has characterized Israeli air power for decades. But the strategic reality is more complex. The precedent concerns are legitimate. A Middle East with multiple F-35 operators fundamentally changes deterrence calculations. The sequencing concerns are valid. Advanced capabilities provided before normalization eliminate diplomatic leverage. The production timeline provides a window. It takes approximately 5 years from order to delivery for F-35 aircraft. Congressional approval remains uncertain. Lawmakers historically raise concerns about Saudi arms deals following the 2018 Khashoggi murder. The deal will face scrutiny from progressive Democrats on human rights and Republicans protective of Israel's security. The temporal gap is Israel's insurance policy. Even under optimistic scenarios, Saudi Arabia won't receive operational aircraft until the late 2020s. Infrastructure requirements are extensive: secure maintenance facilities, advanced simulators, encrypted communication networks, trained technicians. Pilot training presents an even steeper challenge. The F-35's sensor fusion paradigm requires processing vastly more information than traditional fighters. Israel developed these competencies through thousands of training sorties and combat missions over nearly a decade. Saudi Arabia builds this institutional knowledge from scratch. No amount of American training replicates executing complex strikes against advanced air defenses in real combat. This sale represents a watershed moment. Israel's 10-year F-35 monopoly is ending, but the technical reality suggests Israel's qualitative edge survives through unique modifications, combat experience, and temporal advantages. The geopolitical implications extend beyond specifications. Regional arms race. Normalization leverage lost. Behind-the-scenes cooperation continuing despite public tensions. The Middle East is entering a new era of air power. Israel maintains decisive advantages, but the margin is shrinking. And in warfare, margins determine survival. Hit subscribe if you want to understand how engineering shapes geopolitics. Specifications alone don't win wars.